Hello and welcome to Frame.io Live. My name is Ryan. I'm an enterprise customer success manager here at Frame.io, and today I am going to be taking you through Get to Know Frame.io version 4. I have a really great agenda for you today where we are going to do a complete end-to-end overview of the platform. But before we hop into our agenda, a couple quick items. This is a completely live session, so I want to make sure that I can address any questions that you have as we go along over the course of today. Feel free to find that comment section, and anything you would like to get out of today's session, let me know. That goes for as we go along over the course of today as well. I'll be using that comment section to drop in the chat a couple of support articles. I also have a Premiere Pro demo that I'll share here in a bit, so I'll also be sharing some content in that comment section as well. This is a live session, but we are recording. So if you signed up for today's session, you will also receive a link to the recording after this session is completed, so you could review at a later date or share with the remainder of your teams. Let's chat a little bit about our agenda. This is certainly a little bit more of an introductory session to Frame.io version 4. So like I mentioned, we're going to do a complete end-to-end overview. We're going to chat about workspaces and projects, including organize your content. We're going to hop into the settings of the account and talk about some of the ways that you can control both your users, how you actually interact with the platform, and a couple of default settings that you can enable for the account. We're also going to discuss user roles, who is who in your account. Of course, we'll chat about uploading content, commenting and annotating, go through a couple of new features, including metadata and collections, transcriptions, and some text-based markup. And then we'll wrap up by talking about external sharing. So quite a packed agenda for today. But if you're brand new to Frame, welcome. If you're a seasoned pro, also welcome. Like I mentioned, any questions you have as we go along, please let me know. But we're completely web-based. We offer a cloud-based solution for review and collaboration, including external sharing. Maybe you recently upgraded from V3 to V4. If so, there'll be a lot of things that you'll see that are similar here, including some of the core functionality of our product, right? The ability to upload, comment, annotate, and share, all of those things still exist. I did want to drop in the chat a couple of support articles just as we're beginning, one of which is just called Getting Started. So if you're brand new to Frame, check this out. It's a great resource just to be able to categorize everything we are going to discuss today. Our teams have also created an e-learning hub specifically for enterprise customers. This will enable you to watch a couple of quick videos and just get your feet wet with understanding some of the functionality of Frame.io. I also want to share a Premiere Pro demo. This is about a 4-minute long video that walks through Premiere Pro. We will not be covering that in today's session, but we do have an integration with Premiere. It's native, it's built in. So feel free to check that out if you're interested in integrating Frame.io with your Premiere panel or share with some of your editors in the future. I'm just here under app.frame.io. That is the website you can go to, the URL, or next.frame.io as well. Either of those will get you here. You're more than welcome to pull up your own instance of Frame or follow along with me, whatever you are comfortable with. Starting with just organizational structure, what you're looking at. Right now, you are looking at my workspaces. I have 2 workspaces, marketing and Ryan's team. Workspaces are the highest level of organization that exists within your account. And within each workspace, you have projects. You can see here under my marketing workspace, I have my short edits project. If you're an enterprise customer, you can create as many workspaces as you would like, and then you can create as many projects as you would like within each designated workspace. The benefit being that you can differentiate which users have access to which workspace. So you can invite users at the workspace level, meaning they'll have access to every project within a workspace. Or you simply could just invite in licensed users into each individual project, meaning they won't have access to any other projects except for the one by which they are invited. But speaking of users, there's a couple of different user roles that I want to highlight before we go further. I currently am an account owner, which means I have access to all workspaces, all projects, all content, including private content. I also have the ability to adjust the global setting to the account. I'll hop into that in just a bit. Directly beneath the account owner is the content admin. This admin has access to all workspaces, projects, and content, so they can see everything. But they differ from the owner in that they cannot make global changes to account settings. Just control the users and the projects and the various access and permissions that you desire. Lastly, there are members. There's a couple of different member role types. So over here on the right-hand side, I could click and invite in members into my marketing workspace. ranging from full access, edit and share, edit, comment only, or view only. So I can designate one of these member roles, which does occupy a license within my account. The only user that does not occupy a license is a reviewer. This is somebody who is just viewing content that you've shared externally with. So, could be worth asking, do I actually need a user to have a license in my account before you add them in? I'm sharing a support article now that nails down a little bit more specificity, the user roles and permissions. There's a grid, it outlines exactly which feature is available for which user. Certainly a helpful reference when you're determining how exactly do I need to allocate those users. We'll hop into projects and move forward with a full review and collaboration process, but I do want to chat about some of the settings and how that can help set you up for success in your account. Down here in the bottom left, by clicking on the tile that's associated with the name of your account, mine's called Ryan's account, I can access these settings. If you are a account owner, you will see all of these account settings. If you are a member or maybe a content admin, you won't be able to see a number of these settings. We'll go through all of them just so you're familiar. Starting with personal. Profile. Each user can set up their own individual profile. I would recommend that they at least add in their name and a photo that will sync with any comments that they make or actions that occur within the account. Users can also adjust their login credentials. If you're a part of an enterprise plan, we also can enable multi-factor authentication or SSO for your account. Please reach out to your account manager with details. Notifications. Each user can adjust the notifications that they receive within the account, starting with email notification frequency. Our teams have built a digest that will summarize all the actions that have occurred within Frame.io, ranging from every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, hourly, daily, or never. This is just to inhibit you from receiving an email anytime an action occurs within your account. We notice that would be quite annoying if there's a lot of comments that are coming through. So this digest enables you to see a summary of actions. Users can also determine what types of notifications they receive for various actions, including comments or assets. So users can enable either in-app notifications, email notifications, or push notifications for iOS, for general comments, comment replies, or app mentions, uploads, other people upload, status changes, assignments, or transcription activity. So users have the ability to select one or all for how they actually interact with these notification settings. Usage. We'll give you an overview and a snapshot of all of the actions within your account. How many members do you have? How much storage is being occupied? Projects and workspaces. Plan. And billing. This especially pertains if you're on one of our retail plans, a pro, a teams plan. This is where you can self-serve and adjust your billing details and your user account. Users. This will give you an overview of all of the users that are already in your account. Depending on your contract type, maybe you have the Adobe Admin Console and you're part of Frame.io there. If so, you'll see a banner up at the top that indicates that your account is Adobe managed. That will require that you add users in through the console. If you are not an Adobe managed account, you can add in users here through this users tab by clicking new user. I then can send an email to any individuals that I would like who I want to occupy one of those member roles that I mentioned earlier. So let's say I want to invite in my colleague Luke. Oops, I clicked out of that. I could then determine, do I want Luke to be either a content admin or a member? Let's keep Luke as a member for now. I could even send an email and a message and click add. You'll see then that Luke is listed here as a pending user and has the last active date of never seen. So once a user actually invites or accepts this invite that I've sent to them, they will show up here in my account. And by clicking into an existing user, I can then determine which workspaces are they a part of and what is their various member role type. Looks like we have a question from Jeremias. Jeremiah, it looks like you have a security related question. I would recommend reaching out directly to our support team. You could do that here in the platform, and they can get you in touch with the right security team. So over here in the bottom left-hand corner, if you click contact support, I'd recommend directing your security question there just to make sure that you can get the most accurate answer and they could work with you there. Groups. Groups from this tab, you can generate a group of users. The benefit being that then you can just use this group to add a clump of users. So let's say you have the same people that you need to invite to a project every single time. You can create this group, meaning that you can just invite in this group. So let's say we have a group of editors that we want to invite into projects with some frequency. We can call this one editors and create. By selecting this group, I then can add members to it over here on the right-hand side. So let's say April, Jacob, and Luke are part of our editing team. I can now add them into this group, and then when creating a new project, can invite them in via this group. Workspaces. Like I mentioned, if you are an enterprise customer, you can create as many workspaces as you would like. From here, you can manage your workspace by clicking on it and determining which members are part of this space and how many projects are in your workspace. You also have the ability to create a new workspace from this tab. Let's say that we have a fall campaign we're working on. We can add that here and click Save. This will then show up on our home screen where we can create projects within that workspace. And this last tab for projects should look similar. From here, you can click into a project and you can see when it was created, how much storage is being occupied, and which workspace it lives under. You also can leverage this filter tab if you wanted to determine which users are a part of which projects. You also can filter out based on active or inactive projects. I'll get to that in a minute. Branding. From here, I can adjust the name or the tile logo that's associated with my account, but I also can set some default shares. You can see here that I have the Frame.io colors that I've added for my default shares. This will apply to new shares only. So if I share out a link that I want externally, I can have this match my own custom branding or maybe the branding of the company or brand that you're working with. Content security. Some of these features may be available depending on your account type. I'll cover all of them today. Share settings. Remember, you're sharing out content from Frame.io, so you can set these defaults that are global for your account. Do I want to require a passphrase on all public shares? That will generate an automatic passphrase on your account. Default share expiration. Do I want to set a default date, meaning that users cannot access the review link past a certain date or time? I can set that here. And I can set by default. Do I want to allow users to share or that I've shared with to download my content? Yes or no. By enabling this, I do allow users to download or clicked off does not. Secure share settings. Some of these are enterprise specific. Authorized domains will restrict the user from accessing that content unless their email address ends with a specific domain. So at adobe.com, for example, I can enable that. Secure sharing. This is an enterprise specific feature that means that a user needs to sign into a Frame.io account prior to being able to access content that is shared with them. The benefit being that the only user that can see it is the one whose email it's shared with. I can make that a default here. I also can set what kind of defaults can my members send. Can it be secure or can they send public links, which means that it can be continuously sent to additional reviewers. Watermark policies. You can require a watermark on internal assets. As a quick aside, that will burn that watermark into the asset, including if you download it. So it certainly depends on what type of project you are working on. But you also can require watermarks on any external shares. So I can enable this for my account. But as you can see here, I have a template that I've built for my fall campaign, but I can create a new template from here as well. So I can add in the name, email address, IP address, date and time, and any custom text. Maybe you have a project name associated. I can adjust the opacity, the rotation. I could even adjust the text size. I can move around my watermark on the screen wherever I see fit. I even can add a secondary text block if desired. Right now, watermarking is just text-based, so any text-based editing you can adjust here. Any questions about these settings? Please let me know. For those that have just joined the call, welcome. We are going through an end-to-end overview of Frame.io v4. You're welcome to use the comment section with any questions that you have. All right. Remember, we created a new workspace for our fall campaign, so that shows up here. Now I can add a new project here within this workspace. We also can add in a couple of members. I'll showcase both of those. I can adjust how I view this home screen though. So if I want to see my projects listed under my workspaces and thumbnail, that's the view I have now. I can also see this in list format if desired. I also can filter out based on active or inactive projects. This is a feature that would enable me to hide a project from my home screen. By marking it as inactive, that project still occupies space within my account. It's still accessible. I just have to view it as inactive instead. It just hides it from my home page, so I'm not viewing it if it might not be as applicable to the work that I'm doing right now. I also can sort my projects based on the name, the date created, or the status of each individual project. Let's create a new project under our fall campaign. You can see here under the template option that there's a handful of templates that you could choose from, ranging from agency portfolio to storyboarding. I'd recommend using these templates if you're brand new to Frame because you can include some sample content and you can see a couple of structures that our team has built out. There's currently not a way to create your own custom template. My understanding is that our product teams are working on implementing that in the future for projects. Let's start from scratch and create a blank project. Let's actually upload a couple of casting photos here into our project. I can make a project restricted as well, which means that I'll have to invite a user in a second time in order for them to actually see it. So let's create this project. It's going to automatically open me into this project, but before we do so, I do want to welcome users in. Remember, I did send an invite to a user, but they're not quite invited in to see content that I want them to see yet. So over here on the right-hand side is where I can add in these users. You can see here there's an option for suggested users. I can add in my group if I want of editors. Let's do that now. By default, anybody who's added here at the workspace level will have access to additional projects. So if I create other projects, those users will see it. But if I open up this project, I could simply just invite users in up here by clicking this option. And let's say I want to invite in Luke here. Luke will now only have access to this specific project because that is the only space that I've given Luke access to. But now that I have this blank sandbox, this empty project, you can see there's an option here to drag and drop or upload files. I also can go up here to the top right corner and click this plus button and I can upload content. Let's just click upload and let's select some content from my desktop. I want to upload a whole bunch of these PNG files and let's go ahead and open them up. I do want to draw your attention over here to the top left corner of the screen where you are going to get a status update for the content that's being uploaded. From here, I also can click on that upload and it will take me directly to that location in my project where I uploaded this content. I uploaded a whole bunch of PNGs, but let's say I uploaded a whole bunch of video files. If that was the case, then the original file would be imported and saved into Frame so that way you could access the original. But we do transcode and create lightweight web and mobile friendly proxy versions of your content. So that way you could play it back from anywhere you have access to Frame. Maybe you're on set or at the airport. You can access those various proxy versions directly here within the platform. But now that I have this content uploaded, I can move my content around and I can organize it as I see fit. You can see here in this panel view up at the top, I can see a full list of all of my assets. I also can see any folders that I create. So there's a tree option here that will enable me to view folder structures. I can also move content around using this folder structure in this tree up in the top left corner. I just created a new folder. Let's call this one favorites. I then can highlight a couple of different assets. I can do a right finger click and I can download them, copy them, move them, or duplicate them. If I copy it, it will just create a secondary copy of that and move it to my location that I desire. If I move it, it will also move that asset with any comments associated. And duplicate will do just that. It will just create a secondary version of that asset. But let's just take these assets that I want and let's move them into a folder that I'm calling favorites. So now I can take and I can move these assets over here and then have some space if I wanted to review them or edit them. I'm just using a couple of arrows to go through them now. Let's say, though, that I want to create a restricted folder. So I know that I've invited in Luke and some editors, but I don't actually want them to see this content yet. I could create a new restricted folder. And by opening up this folder, I then would have to re-invite in some users. Let's say I only want April to actually see this. I can create a restricted folder that is limited to April, preventing other users from accessing it. I then can do a similar type project where I could take these assets and I can move them into my April folder, which April only has visibility to. You can move content across your account. So if I wanted to take a couple of these assets and I wanted to move them, I could even go back here and I can search within a different project or workspace that I wanted to move my content to. So a couple of different ways that you can manage and organize your content here. I'm going to go home by clicking on the top left corner of the screen here, which will take us back into our project. And I want to spend some time here in our short edits project that is a little bit more built out. We are actually going to be working today on a project called Drip. This is an energy drink campaign that our teams have built. You will see our model. She is a sprinter. We also have a couple of video interviews and a couple of different types of collateral that we'll be going through as part of this end-to-end process. But I did want to draw your attention here to some of our final deliverables that we will use here at the end to just speak a little bit more about how you can leverage Frame and use the comment section and sharing amongst your teams. A brief tour. Let's just chat about what you're looking at here. Maybe you recently, again, upgraded from V3 to V4, or maybe you're brand new and you're saying, Ryan, what are we looking at? And how can I organize my content? Let's chat a little bit more. Up in the top right corner, there's a couple of different panels that you can break out to select how you want to view your content. I know I mentioned this folder structure and this folder tree up here in the top left corner. I can hide that or eliminate it. Additionally, I can break out two more panels so I can see both the asset that I've selected. So at a high level overview, I can determine what I want my view to be. This is specific for each individual user. Up here in the top left corner, users can also search for assets, folders, and projects. They can view notifications. So all those settings that we went through, this little bell will ring or show a notification option if the user has selected it. We just talked about these uploads here. Looking at this folder structure tree, I can also view recently deleted content that will show anything that I've deleted, even by accident, for 30 days. Collections, I'll get to this in a bit, but essentially a collection functions like a smart folder where I can take metadata tags and put them into a collection of my choosing. All of my share links that I've generated in this individual project will show here. I can also generate new share links from here, or alternatively, delete share links. And down on the bottom left here, there's an option for C2C connections. This also has a beta for a Adobe Lightroom connection. But under C2C connection, this is where you can sync up any hardware with your Frame.io account, meaning the second you call cut on that hardware, it will automatically drop content into your Frame.io account. It works like magic. It's very cool technology. If you feel so inclined, C2C actually functions for every account type. Appearance. I also can adjust how I view my content, either in layout, my card size, aspect ratio. I can adjust the thumbnails or flatten all my folders, which means that it will just break out all of the content in my account. I also can adjust metadata fields listed right up here at the top. We'll get to that in a moment. I also can choose how I sort my content based on metadata fields. Right now I have mine based on name. Let's keep it there for now. Let's open up this footage folder here, and you see that we have a ton of different assets, some of which have some 5-star ratings. We've already leveraged some metadata tags that we've applied here. But I want to chat about one of my favorite features that just enable you to organize and keep your content together a little bit more. So let's say that you're working on some of these edits. You see here we have a couple of similar or like assets. Let's say you've already commented or gone through a commenting process on a couple of these assets. You can leverage one of my favorite features. It's called version stacking. It's where you could take one asset and drag and drop it over the next. So different than a folder, this creates a version of these assets that are all together in one location. By opening up this version stack, I then can select up here to see these different versions, or alternatively, I could compare version stacks side by side, and I can select which asset I want to view. So let's say we want to compare asset version 1 and version 2. I can click play, and it will play these two assets side by side. I'm sure that we've all been guilty of having plenty of assets or final deliverables where the naming convention is something like final.final, or there's a long email thread where nobody really knows which asset is the final deliverable. This is a really great way to keep them all together. I also can see comments associated with each asset, and I can do some A/B testing for audio between A or B. If I was to go back here, I can manage my version stack. I just did a two-finger click or right finger click, and I can do manage versions. And then I can move these assets around. I also can delete versions from this version stack if desired, but a really wonderful feature that I would encourage you to leverage with your teams. Let's chat a little bit about commenting and annotating because this happens at the individual asset level. So let's open up this asset here. And let me just give you a brief tour of what you're looking at. This is what we call the player page. From here, you can play pause, you can loop, determine the speed or the audio. You also can adjust the time format, ranging from time code to standard, however you see fit. And over here on the right-hand side, if I was to click on this settings option, this is where I can access the various proxy versions of my content. I also can apply a guide. So for example, I wanted to see how something would show up in social media. I can apply that here. I also have the option to set a asset as the thumbnail or download a still. This section here on the right is your comments section. We will hop into all of those. But taking a look at this asset, we see our sprinter here going in slow motion, going around the corner. Maybe we want to use this as part of a social media campaign, a quick cut. I like this shot a lot. I don't really care for this first portion, but I like the second half with the rays of light coming through and we're rounding the corner. Let's talk about the different types of comments that you can make. I can leave just a single comment. So I can leave a comment at a direct location on my timeline. I also can leave a range-based comment indicating a specific period of time on my timeline. I can make an at mention, which will notify a specific user. I also can leave or draw an annotation on the screen. I can leave a hashtag, which will be a searchable hashtag amongst my comments. I also can leave an anchored comment, and I can upload a file to a comment. So a lot that I could do with this whole comment section. Let's go through it together, and then I could chat about how your teams can leverage this and use your comment section like a checklist. All right, so just right off the bat, I can leave just a static comment. I like this shot. Can we set it as the thumbnail? All right, so I left this comment here. By clicking on this comment, you could actually see that my name and my photo are going to sync up with this portion of the timeline. Cool. Let's set it as the thumbnail. Let's go ahead and do that now. I can go here to settings, set as thumbnail. Cool. Let's say that we're watching this video and I say, this whole first portion, I don't think we need. I really like the shot where we start to round the corner, where the rays of light are coming through. So we can actually indicate to our editor that we just want to crop it starting here. We only want to use the second half of this video. I can leave a comment over here, but when I go to type, you can see I actually now have the option to draw or leave a range-based comment. So I can indicate this specific period of time by just dragging my bracket. I also can hold down shift to get a little bit more precise in that time code, but we actually just want to cut out this entire portion. So I'm going to draw a comment indicating that during this duration of time, that's what we want to cut out. And let's say we want to indicate to April who's going to be working on the editing. I'm going to say, can we cut this out? So you can see I'm actually leaving multiple different types of comments together, the range-based and an at mention. I'm indicating to April that we want to cut it out, and I'm indicating where. You can see that by clicking on this comment, it's going to show a big white line that this is the range of time that we were referring to as part of this asset. All right, let's keep going. I really like the portion of this asset where the rays of light are coming through. However, it does feel a bit washed out back here. Maybe we want to indicate to our VFX team that we want to just make this guy a little bit more blue. Let's do a hashtag for VFX, indicating to our VFX team who can actually search for that hashtag later on. Can we please make the sky more blue back here? I'm saying back here, but where exactly am I referring to? Let's draw an annotation to indicate where. I can leave an annotation in the form of an arrow, a line, a box, or I could draw freehand. Let's draw an arrow and let's make it pink so it sticks out a little bit more. And let's draw an arrow to this portion of the screen. I can leave multiple forms of annotation. So we're indicating this portion back here. Let's make it explicitly clear. By clicking enter, it is going to leave this comment, but it won't actually reveal the annotation unless I click on that asset itself. All right, so we've looked at a couple of different types of comments already. What else is left? We can leave an anchored comment. We also can upload a file to a comment. So this option down here for anchored comments, I can actually drop a pin directly to a location on my screen, indicating exactly where I want to leave a comment. Let's say for here, we want to upload some type of voiceover. So I can upload a PDF to an anchored comment, but let's do that actually as part of the commenting process. So let's just leave this here, and maybe I can mention somebody else and say, Jacob, do you have the voiceover we were hoping to use for this clip? And let's make this one an internal comment, meaning that if I share this out externally, this asset, nobody will see it. Only my internal assets will be seen. So a way for you to also restrict who can see content, you could do that right down here as well by determining public or internal. All right, and let's say that Jacob wants to reply back to this comment. Jacob can upload the PDF that I have and click send, which would enable me to open up this PDF. And I can see here's our voiceover is being processed. I can then download it and access it at a later date. So we've left a couple of different types of comments, some all at the same time. But the cool thing about this comment section is, like I said, your team can use it like a checklist. You saw that I replied back to my own comment here. We were pretending to be Jacob, saying, hey, here it is. Here's this asset. Your teams can filter out the comments, public or internal. They also can filter out by the type of comment. So let's say that you and your team say, hey, we're actually going to draw an annotation anytime it's important. You could do that. Or you could also search for various hashtags that you know are going to be used a lot within a comment. Maybe you have hundreds of users that are going to be viewing and leaving comments. You could search for that hashtag and only filter out the comments associated. You could also search for the individuals who left comments. So you only want to view comments left by me. You could check that on. Additionally, you can see attachments, completed, incomplete, a whole bunch that you could do here to determine which comments are applicable. You also can mark a comment as complete, which is a cool way to use your comment section like a checklist, so your teams are not questioning what's done, what's not done, and how do we need to proceed. Here in the top right corner, by clicking on these three dots, users can copy comments. So they can paste it onto a different asset or elsewhere. Users can also export comments to Final Cut, Media Composer, Premiere, Resolve. You also can export a CSV or a TXT file of comments. But if you want to see a little bit more of a prettier overview of the comments, you can click Print, which will actually open up a PDF, which will give you a thumbnail and a time code of the comment that had been left. So this could be printed or shared, but a great way to have an audit trail of the comments your team had left associated with assets. Any questions about commenting or annotating on an asset? Please let me know. I do want to go here to our pitch deck review because I want to showcase how this looks different depending on the asset type. So you can upload a multitude of different file types to Frame, not just video assets, but PDFs, JPEGs, etc. Let's say that we want to leave a couple of comments associated with a PDF. Now, for the first time, users can Command F search for keywords within an asset. So you can see here, we have this asset here for Frame.io for video, photography, and marketing teams. Cool. We can access this asset here and we could see maybe some keywords that are associated, send review links to get feedback or branded presentations when you're ready to show your final product. Cool. I can keyword F here and do maybe send review. And you can see here that it's going to sync up and show me the words that are associated on this PDF doc. Different than an anchored comment, I can use this new suggestion tool, which would enable me to add suggested edits to a document with a couple of different markup options. So let's say I want to highlight this send review, and maybe I want to make an adjustment that says send for review. So I just highlighted this option, and you can see that I can just highlight a word. I can make an insert suggestion. I can request to remove a keyword, or I could suggest a replacement. So let's say I want to suggest insert and do maybe send for review. So I am making a suggestion that we insert send for review and click send. So this comment will then be directly associated with that location on my PDF. And by clicking on it, I can see exactly where it's located. Similarly, I can do a print and I can then see what edits I suggested to make on that PDF. You also can export those comments to maintain feedback contexts, and those text markups, like I said, will be included as part of a print or other comment export formats. Right? This anchored comment too, right? Like I could drop an anchored comment over here and indicate to a specific location on my screen. I've definitely seen this anchored comment used a little bit more for PDFs or JPEGs over video files. All right, let's chat about another new feature. This is called transcriptions, which would enable me to actually generate a transcript based on the audio associated with an asset. So I'm going to select all of these assets. These are a couple of interviews that we are going to be reviewing. And maybe I just want to quickly search amongst this 7-minute long video via the transcript to determine maybe keywords or actions that occurred. So I'm going to click this option down here for generate transcripts. And I could choose from one of 18 languages that are currently available. There's also a brand new feature that launched last Wednesday about labeling speakers. So you can differentiate between speaker one or speaker two, which is brand spanking new, hot off the press. But by clicking transcribe, it's going to generate the transcripts for this asset by opening it up. I then can click on this option down here for transcriptions, which will show over here on the left. By clicking on these three dots, I can enable a couple of settings. Auto scrolling. I can export the transcript in SRT, VTT, or TXT. I can also suggest edits to the transcript itself. But I can search for specific keywords or moments by navigating and clicking any word in the transcript or by finding that transcript in the timeline here. Let's search the word sprinter. It's then going to reveal to me within my asset all of the different keywords that match. I would like to highlight that there is automatic closed captioning available both for web and iOS. You saw me earlier bulk process where I selected multiple files to transcribe. You can just do one at a time if desired. But I then can highlight various portions of this text. I can leave comments or suggest an edit. So if I left a comment for this specific portion, you could see over here that I could leave a comment and say, let's make a quick edit of this. Hmm. And then by clicking on this comment, it's going to show me directly where I left that comment associated with the transcription. Super cool technology. Hopefully it'll save you and your team a ton of time. But speaking of saving time, let's chat about a couple new features, including metadata and collections. Then we'll chat about external sharing and wrap it up. Fields. This option right up here is where I can apply a metadata field. These options here, final edit, rating, release date, release platform, seen by, and status. These are all metadata fields that are already clicked on. There are 33 metadata fields that are out of the box. You can see 37 here because you actually had the option to create my own custom metadata field. Final edit is a custom field. Release platform, also a custom field, where I was able to make my own suggestions for the final edit or the release platform, how that shows. Let's say I want to create a new field for my own approval process. So maybe you have specific internal vernacular that you use when you discuss your internal process for approval. I could then add different options for this approval process, like in progress. Awaiting approval from Layla. Let's say I have a specific user that I want to name a metadata tag based off of. Sent for review. Currently editing. I could then adjust the colors for these different tags. And by clicking save, and now that that metadata tag is clicked on, I can adjust or add these metadata tags to this asset. The benefit being that then I can search based off of any asset that matches that criteria for metadata tagging. I also can sort it based on those metadata tags as well. But an additional benefit of that is I can leverage this feature, collections, which goes hand in glove with metadata tags, to automatically create a smart folder of assets that match a specific criteria. So for example, this collection for final assets has already been built. I want to draw your attention to this filtered option here, where you could see that the filter to access the content is final edit is checked, yes, and it is grouped based on the metadata tag of release platform. So from here, I can then see the grouping is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, etc., filtered based on the fact that the final edit is checked yes. Let's create a new metadata tag together, but let's say that we want to do one that has 5-star ratings. We're maybe a little bit earlier in our process. You can see that there's a couple of assets here that have that 5-star rating already. Let's create a new collection. I'm just clicking plus right over here. From here, I then can add some custom branding to this collection. So let's say we want to add in our own little header. Let's do a star. I also can add in my own uh, custom image. I can also adjust the description, creator info, background image. Let's say that we want to just use one of our custom defaults already. Let's do that. This looks nice. I can move it around here on the screen and click apply. Let's call this one 5-star assets. And let's add a description. This is a collection of all assets that have 5 stars. I then can select, do I want this collection to pull from everywhere in my account or just a specific folder? Let's do everywhere. And then the filter that I want to use is going to be our rating system. Equals 5 stars. So now you can see that this asset is going to auto upload and auto adjust based off of my fields that I had applied and my filter that I had applied here as well. Oops, I accidentally did my groups. Let's get rid of the group. So this is just going to show filtered rating equals 5 stars. Okay? However, let's say that I go back over here to my short edits version, and as we're going through, we just have to be a little bit more selective. Maybe we determine, actually, this one's a 4-star, this one's 2, this one's 2. We can go back over to our collection over here. You could see that the collection is actually going to auto adjust and remove those assets from this collection because they no longer match that criteria. But I also can do a group, maybe even based off of like asset type, file type. Then you can see it's actually going to filter out now where it has my assets based on 5 stars, but now it's sorted by audio, PDF, vector, or video. I've seen these collections used in a handful of different ways. There's not a right or wrong way to leverage it. I would ask you just consider, what is our current approval process? Is it a person? Is it a naming convention? Who needs to see it? And how can we leverage this? The cool thing about the assets, and with me having built out this header and this description, is that I can share out this collection for review. So I can just click share here, which is going to generate a share link to enable me to send it to users of my choice. If you previously were familiar with Frame.io, you knew that there were 2 different types of links that you could generate. Within V4, there's actually just one type of link. We just call it a share link now. But from here, there's a ton of customizations that you could add to ensure that your link has the security and visual necessities that are required. Starting up here at the top, you can make a link either secure or public. If you remember back in the settings about 45 minutes ago, I set the settings to make it where every default link that I send is secure. That just requires that a user signs into a Frame.io account before I can view their content. Let's keep it that way. I then can add users in here and they'll receive an email that I've shared with them. There's also a new feature here for recent share activity where I can see various activities that I have done or new share links that I've generated as of late. Layout. So I can select, do I want users to see my content in grid format, in list format, or in reel format? You can see here that this reel format matches the custom branding that I applied earlier, a little bit more of a final asset deliverable if you want a little bit more presentation. But I can adjust all the permissions. So I can disallow users from commenting, from downloading, from seeing various versions, even from seeing transcripts if desired. So you can really have a handful of different customizations for how your users interact with your share link. You can apply a passphrase, set an expiration date, or apply a watermark ID. Let's say I do want to enable users to comment and show all versions. I don't want transcripts or captions. I can also enable users to adjust specific feature fields like ratings. So not only could I have users apply comments, but I can also have them leverage metadata tags in the same way that my team did internally. Really up to you, however complicated you want it to be for your recipients. You also can allow recipients to edit all visible fields. Again, there's a handful of ways that you can adjust this here. But you can see here that now my custom branding matches by opening up an asset. You can also see that my watermark is applied. The cool thing about this share link though is I can always adjust it. So let's say I want to make this grid instead. I don't want to allow users to comment and I want to get rid of my watermark. Like I can make all of those changes. And by refreshing the asset itself, you can see that it's actually going to auto adjust. So I don't have to generate a new link if I just want to make changes to an existing share link. Over here on the bottom left is where I'm able to view all of my share links by clicking all share links. From here, I then can select them or I could disable or delete them. I also from here can determine what type of access is it, how many people have viewed it. And I also can open up the view activity to see who actually opened it up and what they did with that share link. A couple of different ways that I could generate a share link. I know I did so from a collection, but I could just generate a share link maybe for a folder by clicking right finger click, and I can either generate a new one or just add it to an existing share link. By generating a new share link, it's going to bring me back to the drawing board a bit where I do have to create a new header and some default branding here for myself. Additionally, I can create a new share link just by clicking the plus button, which will default to the date. From here, I also can drag and drop assets into that share link. So a couple of different ways that you can generate this content listed right over here. All right. We've gone through a good amount of content together today. We've gone through all of the settings in the account. We chatted about workspaces and projects and users. We discussed uploading and downloading content in and out of Frame. We also spoke a little bit about commenting and annotating, metadata collections, transcriptions, text markups, and external sharing. This was a complete end-to-end overview. Before we wrap up, please let me know if you have any questions. Drop them in that comment section. But a couple of things I want to leave you with. Jeremiah, I know that you asked that question earlier, or Jeremiah, excuse me, about security. You can always contact our support team just by clicking this question mark here. These are actually 3 live folks that are chatting right now. You can ask questions just by messaging our team. They're available 24/7. You also can search for some help articles located here as well. This option down here for the light bulb is actually for a feature request. So as you're getting familiar with Frame or playing around and you say, wow, I wish this feature existed, let us know. Something that our team assesses every day. We'd love to hear from you. Down here in the bottom, you also can view keyboard shortcuts. So if you wanted to play around and see some ways that you could save time or just manage a little bit more effectively within Frame, you can access all keyboard shortcuts here. I'm not seeing any questions come through. So I would like to say thank you on behalf of our entire team for joining today for Get to Know Frame.io version 4. This is Frame.io Live. My name is Ryan. Our Adobe offices will be closed next week based here in the US, but the following week, we'll be right back here, happy to help. Thanks for letting us be a part of your creative process. D Creative Vision, always a pleasure to see you. If you have any questions, please reach out to our support team. We're happy to get in touch. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your day wherever you're tuning in from. Till next time, take care.